let us get right into it because we've had a conversation before, but I love talking with you. First of all, because you're a pleasure coach, like I shouldn't have to say anymore because I think all of us midlife women need some more pleasure in our lives, but a different, like not just pleasure. I'm talking about pleasure, right? And when I call up your website, when I look at your website, Golden Shift Coaching, the at the very beginning of your website, it's like, are you tired of feeling like sex is something you should do and ready to reclaim your passion and pleasure? I'm like, yes. Like, who isn't? Especially in midlife, right? Like, what do you
Right.
find when you're working with your clients? What do you find is the biggest thing that comes up? Because not only do I work with similar clients, but I am a woman in midlife. So I have a lot to say about this. Okay, go.
Yes. Well, and I want to say I work with women everywhere from 30 to 70, but I'm going to focus today as we're talking on the sweet spot that both you and I are in, this midlife, um, beautiful phase of life. And I am just here to share that this is an incredibly powerful and romantic phase of life. I think oftentimes we subconsciously think that our pleasure peaks in our 20s or 30s. And I'm here to say that is wrong. Like I think I am just entering into hitting my stride. And my expectation is that I'm going to continue my pleasure expansion for as long as I live. So let's start there, that we have not peaked and we are still learning and expanding, and we have a superpower as women in our midlife.
Mm. Yeah, I am on board with that. First of all, I should say for anyone, because we're doing a live here for anybody that doesn't know me, my name is Heather London, and I help women master midlife. So holistic nutrition, balancing hormones, finding your purpose again. And this is Krista, the pleasure coach. So I agree with you. And one of the reasons why this is where we hit our stride, I think, is because we're done like giving everything to everybody else. And now it's like, okay, I have all this stuff to give, and I'm a nurturer, and I love, and I'm compassionate and kind. Like this is midlife women, like help, do, give. And now it's time to focus that back on ourselves. Is that one of the main reasons why we're just hitting our stride?
Yes, that is a excellent example of what gift midlife has to offer, and often that is space. We have more time. We can stop, like you say, nurturing everybody else and start asking the question, like, what do I want? It's not what all the kids want to eat for dinner. It's not about our partners. It can be like, turn that mirror around and really ask, like, what is it that I want? What is it that is bringing me pleasure today? That's maybe something that we haven't asked or haven't asked in a really long time. And we change. We're always changing. We are changing our haircut. We are changing our clothes. We're changing the type of music and movies we watch, but we don't often change our pleasure practice as we grow and expand and just become who we are.
And like I want to get deeper into the pleasure, like
Mm-hmm.
the pleasure, because when we get into midlife, our hormones change,
Yep.
and a lot changes. What do you find is the biggest thing that women are bumping up against when it comes to, say, intimacy, and not just in a relationship, right? Because I'm not in a relationship, but I want pleasure across the board, and I want to feel that like excitement and passion and all of it.
I think one of the first things we can do is give ourselves permission to look for pleasure. As I kind of reflect back on growing up, I didn't realize that I had kind of viewed my role as a woman to give pleasure to other people. And if you look at the movies that we had growing up, I'm thinking like Fast Times at Ridgemont High or even Pretty Women, like it's all about women serving their partners. And it's time to realize that is not our role. We all deserve pleasure. And so it's like you say, it's like what brings us pleasure? How do we want to spend our days? How do we want to move our bodies? How do we want to eat? How do we want to look at life and just start bringing in some of those elements to create a pleasure filled life?
Yeah. And as you're saying that, something pops into mind. It's this thing of, if a younger man is with an older woman, they'll always say like, she knows what she wants. And so
Yes.
I think that that's a key place to start, is like, what do I want? What feels good for me in all aspects? Like seeking the pleasure across the board, not just intimate pleasure, but across the board, because we know when we're in a relationship, it's like if the partner does something simple like clean up after themselves, that's part of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
They seem unrelated, but they're totally related. And all women are like, yes, girl, like do the thing. And that gets us going. That's a start. That's like an entryway into, intimate pleasure.
Yes. And I think a good thing to remember is that we are all responsible for our own pleasure. So this is not something that you can outsource to your partner. This is, and which is my biggest problem with like a 50 Shades of Grey type scenario, is that so much of that book is about the woman giving up her control and letting somebody else make the decisions for you. So we're going to stand in our power. We are going to say, like, what do I want? What makes me happy? What brings me pleasure? And it starts, like you said, with the small things in life. It's really like starting to imagine how amazing your life could be. And then you start bringing in those elements like you're decorating your bedroom, right? So you're going to bring in connection with friends. You're going to bring in what kind of morning routine you want, and just really allowing each of those experiences to hit your body and fully feel them. So as you think about, we're going into the weekend, do you want to wake up early or sleep in late tomorrow? What is your body asking for? And then just really enjoying whatever you choose and fully allowing your mind, your body, and your energy to just experience life to the fullest.
Mm. And what advice can you give, or what tip or tool do you have in your tool belt to help us kind of unlock that pleasure that we're looking for, or find what it is, or ways to experience it that we've never thought about before?
So there's a couple different ways that we can do this. One is kind of paying attention to, how is my body talking to me? How does my mind talk to me? Do you want to create a script of your whatever you're envisioning, a perfect day, and using your words? Do you want to get on the internet and start pulling in images? Do you want to bring in sound and really just like imagine this journey that you're on over the next 24 hours? And what is it that's speaking to your soul? I think sometimes we get stuck because we can't find the words to describe what we want. You don't have to use the words. You can find images that convey the emotion that you're trying to come up with. And so that can be a fun way, is to just create a storyboard of how you want to feel inside, and then start reverse engineering of what's going to bring that emotion into your body.
Mm. Okay, these are really good tips. And what pops into my mind when you're saying this is shame. Now, I do a lot of work with my clients on
Mm-hmm.
shame. And I feel like anytime we are hearing what you're saying, and like pictures or videos or anything like that, and somebody comes up with resistance, that's shame, us shaming ourselves of, oh, that's not right, we shouldn't do that. And I want to offer up that that comes from probably an upbringing of somebody else's thoughts of what's right and what's not right. And if we can let go of that and be really curious, like, because shame needs two things to grow. Shame needs secrecy, like don't talk about it with your partner or whatever. Like, no, I don't want to, I would never mention that I want to look at videos or anything like that. That's the shame part. And then there's the judgment, like, oh, I'm so whatever it is by wanting to see pictures. Or because if I'm a visual person, that's what's going to work for me, right? That's what caught my attention because I'm a very visual person. So I really feel like what goes hand in hand with what you're saying is noticing if that shame comes up, that we want to release it, and notice we're judging ourselves. And it probably comes from our parents' definition of what's right and wrong when it comes to pleasure and our bodies and all that. And really tune in, like you said, what is my body asking for? Because our body can never lie. Our body always knows the truth. So just wanted to put that out there. Watch for any kind of resistance coming up and know that it's probably shame, and allow yourself to work through the shame and really question it. Is that true? And can I let it, is it serving me, and can I let it go?
Yes, I think that's beautiful. And like you said, so many of these ideas of shame came up and were implanted in us, or we grabbed them when we were little, and we're not little anymore. We are grown women. We can decide if we're still going to carry this bag of shame, or if we can put it down and just say, I get to make my own rules now. What is it that I want? Yeah, and how is this shame still serving me? Maybe it isn't, and you can let it go. And you're absolutely right. Talking about it, bringing it to light, journaling about it is a great first step into lowering its power over you.
And I feel like stepping into like your sexual whatever it is very empowering for a woman, like really to own it, and to like really allow it to come out in a way that feels so good for you. And then of course be able to share that with somebody else, like share that with your, so being able to express it fully.
Yes, and that you don't have to start being explicit. And as we were talking about the music and the words and the movies, these can be just beautiful images that bring you joy in your body. That is a great place to start about what brings you pleasure. Is start with the approachable, and then you can expand it to more bedroom centered topics.
And it will naturally go there.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying, right?
Yes.
And women and men are so different. They're so different. And a lot of the times I find with women, we have this thought in our brain, like I want my man to whatever, but we never express it. And then we get upset when they don't know, because we want them to know us, right? And when they don't read our minds, we get upset. And the best thing we can do for ourselves is to actually say it out loud and to ask for what we want. Because men, when it comes to this kind of stuff, they're just like, I just want this or need this. But we're like, I want it to start 2 days ago. I want you to, just touch my shoulder when you walk by me in the kitchen, or those types of things. Like the men and women are so different when it comes to pleasure and intimacy.
Yes, we get fed this idea from books and movies and Hollywood that all the potential partners out there know exactly what to say at exactly the right time, and what those men have, or what those leading actors have that your partner doesn't, is the script, right? They have the script, and we need to give them the script. And to do that, you've got to become the co-creator of your own intimate life, and that means starting to keep track of what brings you joy, what brings you pleasure, what brings you romance. Like, what is it that you want? You've got to figure that out before your partner can magically do those for you.
Okay, that was so brilliant said. Like they have a script. It's funny because I used to work in the film industry and I worked in lighting. And what people don't understand is that it takes us hours and hours of lighting this person perfectly to make them look beautiful. They stand in a certain spot, there's a certain camera angle. We practice it and then we spend hours lighting it. And those people spend hours in hair and makeup. So that is unattainable. That's the thing, right? That's so that whole Hollywood thing, that's not realistic. So we're trying to live up to, something that doesn't even exist.
Exactly. Yes. And there's a lot of magic out there that we overlook because we're expecting everything to be big Hollywood magic, big Disneyland, big princess castles. And really, there's so much beauty in small and simple and just deep connection with yourself and with your partner.
Yeah, so it starts with that connection with yourself, I think, right? Because it's hard to ask for what you want if you don't know what you want.
Absolutely. And it's frustrating because, and again, this is where a lot of what we want, we may not have the vocabulary or the words, like you can feel it in your throat, but it's just like, what are the words? I can't find the words to ask for what I want. And that's why going through other mediums of music, of movement, of dance, of music, whatever comes to mind as ways to just get that feeling out of you, and then kind of piece in the words at another time. And it usually doesn't happen in the middle of intimacy unless you're really practiced at this. This is a practice. Pleasure is a practice. and we're just going to keep showing up for ourselves as we learn to connect our emotions to words.
That's great. Just like yoga is a practice, you never get there. It's like
Yes.
you're always learning and growing and working. And what you liked before is going to be different than what you like now because you're a different person now. So I think that's really important. And one of the best things you can do is know your love language and know your partner's love language. Because if my love language is words of affirmation, and I'm all day telling this person how awesome they are, but theirs is physical touch. They're not even receiving it. I'm thinking, look at me, I'm doing great. And they're like, why isn't this person loving on me? Why aren't they connecting with me? So it's really important to do the work and connect, like really express and share what you learn and what you know about yourself.
Yeah. Absolutely. You need to keep track of all the things that are bringing you pleasure today and then share that with your partner as, oh, I saw the most beautiful sunrise, or I had the most delicious lunch, or I heard this absolutely fantastic podcast that really lit me up. Like, start paying attention, start sharing that, and start having an exchange of pleasure with the people around you throughout the day.
Mm. And also, what just popped into my mind too is like longevity. Like it's when it's new and exciting, no problem. But what do you do 15 years down the road or 20 years down the road when now that your kids are older and out of the house,
Yep.
right? How do you reconnect with your partner? Because that's like an important thing because now you have all this time and attention that you were putting on these kids. And now you're probably going to focus it hopefully on yourself, but also on your partner.
Yes, and hopefully we've had little chances to develop connection and reaffirm that connection over the years, and especially in the teenage years when we may have a little bit more time to talk with our partner. But even if you haven't, it is just starting that first conversation of, I want to fall in love with you again. And to fall in love with you again is like, what is lighting you up? What is how do you want to spend the next 5 years? What is it that you're most looking forward to doing in the space that we have? Yeah, there's so many great ways to start to reach for your partner and bring them closer to you. And that starts with knowing yourself and sharing who you are with your partner again.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing from what you said is curiosity is going to be
Mm,
really helpful in this. Just be curious. Like if you were thinking this is a fresh start, because it is, right? Like you can start over again at any moment. And the how you create this moment is from your thoughts. And so you want to create the thoughts of let's reconnect. Let's make this amazing. That's where it starts, right? Like with the intention behind it, the thought behind it. So this is so wonderful. I love, you always have so many good tips. How can people get a hold of you if they want more information on from the pleasure
yes.
coach?
Yes, well, message me on Instagram, Golden Shift Coaching. I'm happy to talk with you there. I will be launching a group program for women in October. So please pay attention if expanding your intimacy and pleasure is something that you are interested in working on this year.
Oh, that's so good. And like you, I believe in community. I think community is the answer, especially for women in midlife. So I have a 5-day challenge coming up September 9th. It's called Eat More and Lose Weight in Midlife. And so it's more than just weight loss. It's about everything that we've talked about as a midlife woman. And it starts with you putting yourself first. So you can access that from my Instagram page at Heather London Coaching. I'll have that up on next weekend. That's when I'm starting registration. So Krista, thank you so much for joining me and
Always a pleasure.
giving us these hot tips. I am going to think about what we said and put it into practical application today.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, have a fabulous long weekend.